India today has been getting you ground reports, first-hand accounts of all that's playing out currently in Ukraine. Now, in the beginning days of this invasion, Russia targeted the strategically important Hostomel air base, and the beautiful Mriya aircraft, the world's largest aircraft, was also destroyed. Mriya means dream in Ukrainian, and it was completely destroyed. Now, all that's left is bits and pieces. Gaurav Sawant spoke to Shivarur from the Hostomel airport and shows us exactly what the situation is now at the airbase.
Gaurav, take us through what you're seeing. That's the aircraft right behind you.
We are at the Hostomel airbase. This is from the cradle to the grave. This is Mriya AN-225, the biggest aircraft ever to fly. And this aircraft, it's actually, Shiv, you understand aviation, you love aviation, you will understand this. You can actually feel the pain when you look at this aircraft, the biggest aircraft, Soviet era engineering marvel, 6 engines, 3 on this side, 3 on that side, and this aircraft literally cut into half by a massive missile strike that took place. And Shiv, we are at the Hostomel airbase. There is a lot of unexploded cargo here at this point of time. But just for size, this is a strategic lift transport aircraft, the biggest of such aircraft ever to be built. And this aircraft now just lies, it's shattered. Just compare this size and those small aircraft standing there. You can just compare the size of these two aircraft and you can make out. Hello, India.
From Ukraine.
How are you?
I'm okay.
This is a Ukraine army officer who's guarding this place now. But Shiv, I want to show you this airbase. You understand the importance of Hostomel airbase. Russia tried to capture this many times. They launched their Spetsnaz, their special forces at this airfield, and they did not. Initially they succeeded, then they failed in counterattacks. Look at the anti-aircraft tracked anti-aircraft guns here. Tracked anti-aircraft guns here, the S-300 system there, the tanks that are parked there, the missile tubes of the S-300 there, the anti-aircraft system here. And look, Shiv, all burnt. This is the hangar, this is the main hangar of Mriya. Shiv, just look up here. The number of missiles and rockets fired, it's like pockmarked. This complete place is pockmarked with the rocket strikes, missile strikes, airburst, cargo, bomblets. This place littered with ammunition and a lot of unexploded ammunition also in this place. This actually the pride of Ukraine, the pride of Soviet Union at one point of time, Mriya AN-225. It's now just, it's cut into half, broken in 2 parts. That's not all. Shiv, you and I understand the importance of Antonov, India's AN-32 transport fighters, the strategic short takeoff aircraft that we require for Siachen, for Leh, for the Northeast. They are all manufactured here at this Hostomel airbase, at the Antonov airbase. Some of them were here for retrofitting. They had to be rushed out. Some others need to come in for retrofitting and avionics and upgrades. They cannot come here anymore because this entire airbase has been shelled to bits. The hangar there, the building there, the hangars there, the aircraft that was standing there, they are all now perhaps damaged forever. This place is littered with so many bombs and bomblets that it will take months. We spoke to a Ukraine army officer with whom we've come to this place, and the engineers will take at least a month to clear this place before they can make it operational again. Now, the Russians wanted to occupy this airbase because they wanted to use this as the staging camp to launch future operations into Kiev. They wanted an airbase very close to Kiev, and they launched their special forces here. Remember that image just when the conflict had started of multiple helicopters coming into Kiev and flying very low and landing here? Those were the helicopters that launched the special forces and brought them right to this point. And this is where the Ukrainians launched a very swift counter-attack. We also spoke to a special forces officer who's here. Of course, he spoke to us off camera, but he explained how they fought tooth and nail, and there's massive damage. We'll show you reports of the damage that's been caused to entire Hostomel. There's not one building that's standing there undamaged at this point of time. Street by street fighting took place before the Russians were pushed back, and once again the Ukrainians now control this territory after the Russians withdrew. But this too was a place like Irpin and Bucha where the Russians had come in big numbers but then had to retreat, Shiv.
Gaurav, first of all, I want you and Lalit to be very careful because like you rightly said, this was a place that was shelled mercilessly during the beginning days of the invasion. A lot of unexploded bomblets, shells, rockets could be strewn everywhere, especially near that aircraft. So my first point to you is please take all precautions. I know you're there with the Ukrainian armed forces, but it's always a risk to be in a place that has been shelled so fiercely. Is that entire area currently secured now, Gaurav? It's not being attacked anymore. Russian forces no longer anywhere near it?
That's right, Shiv. As of now, this area is secured. Of course, when we were coming here, we were told to wear our bulletproof jackets and helmets. And the officer, if you notice the vehicle we were traveling in, it was a special armor-plated vehicle. And he too was wearing his bulletproof jacket and helmet because, one, they do not know if there are some, either special forces, the Spetsnaz, or, maybe Chechen fighters in any of these areas, because this is a very strategically important area and it hasn't been sanitized completely just as yet. But the fact is that we were successful in reaching here. The fact also remains is that the Ukrainian forces are now here in large numbers, not only occupying this entire airbase, but sanitizing the entire locality here, because this will be protected like it was never protected before. Borispil and Hostomel, these are the two major airfields around Kiev. There are 15 air bases and airfields that were completely destroyed by Russians in the past 40 days through missile strikes, rocket strikes, air-launched air-to-ground missiles that were fired here. But while Borispil remained safe, Hostomel was completely destroyed, completely taken over by the Russians, regained by the Ukrainians, but not sanitized just as yet, with thousands of bomblets lying in areas and thousands of unexploded bombs lying around. Some of them have been marked, some haven't been marked even now, because team of engineers have come in only now and they don't have so many engineers, is what one of the officers was telling me, to clear Irpin, Bucha, Kiev and Hostomel. So they're prioritizing. They want residential areas to be secured first and then this area. So army itself will be clearing this area. But Shiv, you can well understand, you can well appreciate the loss that not just Ukraine or Russia, it's in aviation lovers across the world look at this picture and they'll be in deep, deep pain and anguish.
This is there are so many different ways that this story is so distressing. The human cost, the devastation to neighborhoods, the number of children, who've been left without parents, the number of people who've been left without homes, the huge humanitarian crisis, the large loss of civilian life. And on the other hand, a true national icon of Ukraine that's just sitting right behind you, Gaurav. You and I, over the years, have spoken so much about this very aircraft. If I remember correctly, you and I even saw this aircraft in real life when it had come to India the last time. So there's an almost unreal sense, as I bring our viewers this broadcast with you live, standing right in front of a corpse of an aircraft that you and I have admired as aviation watchers, as defense journalists. It was truly much more than an aircraft, wasn't it, Gaurav? It was a national icon. It was it was a feat of engineering, of Soviet prowess, a Cold War era machine, that signaled to the world that Russia and the Soviet Union and Ukraine could build aircraft, which could not be matched anywhere in the world. I'm actually a little emotional. I can't believe you're standing in front of the mangled remains of that aircraft, Gaurav. How does it feel actually being there in front of it? Probably hasn't even sunk in.
Shiv, one, it's unreal, it's surreal. Two, when I came here, and you will understand that we actually touched this aircraft. It was as if you're touching a piece of history, and we actually had to touch this aircraft to know the loss that this aircraft has actually suffered, and it's very painful to see these marks on this aircraft, to see how it's damaged. Look at this nose. It's so severely damaged. The number of shrapnel that have gone through this aircraft, the missile that must have gone through this and cut this aircraft in pieces. It is so painful. You're absolutely right. This is more than just the pride of Ukraine. This is more than just the pride of aviation history. I mean, this is aviation history that actually lies shattered, that actually lies destroyed. The fact that in the 1980s they made an aircraft like this that could fly, that could take the metro rail bogies in it and then fly them to India. Even now when you speak to people in Ukraine, when you speak to people in Hostomel, they tell you every time this aircraft flew, there was a feeling of pride when it would come into land. And there are pictures that are going viral here. The last flight or flying in, memories of this aircraft now is just mangled remains of what was a very big, very beautiful aircraft now lies shattered. Shiv, you and I have flown maybe hundreds of times in an AN-32. Every time we went to Siachen, to Partapur, every time we went to Leh, every time we went to the northeast, there were times we were flying to northeast in an AN-32. And Indian Air Force, and we've had the luxury of standing in the cockpit, being in the navigator's bubble to be able to, look out. Only that happens in an AN-32 in a military aircraft. And IAF said that was an aircraft built for Indian Air Force for short takeoff, short landing. It was an excellent aircraft. This was so much bigger, so much better. And India has such an history with Antonovs, with the AN-12s, then the AN-32, and now they were being upgraded. But this was the AN-225, the biggest and the best that's actually now been lost. Shiv.
It's just sinking in. I mean, I cannot even imagine, Gaurav, what it must feel like for you. Actually standing there. Sitting here, I have goosebumps looking at those images behind you. I cannot even fathom what you, as a journalist of so many years, as an aviation watcher of so many years, is feeling actually being there right now. Gaurav, can you and Lalit, just for a moment, turn your cameras around and just give us a 360-degree view of the base, including the aircraft. We just want to get a sense of the expanse of where this attack took place, the grave of this beautiful aircraft.
Shiv, I'll just ask, Lalit to show you around this airbase and all the shattered weapons and systems that lie around us. We'll just walk around and show you the base. Now look at the number of rounds, unexploded bombs and bombs that are lying here. For example, this bomb here. For example, all the ammunition that is lying here. The tanks, Shiv, we'll just show you those tanks. The armored personal carriers and tanks that are lying here. Just walk around, Lalit. Just show them the place. Lalit. Those are some anti-aircraft guns that are put there, that have been completely destroyed. And Shiv, this just gives you an idea of the kind of battles that have taken place to attack, defend, capture this place. That's a T-72, mangled remains of what was once a T-72 tank. That's a BMP-2. The army, the Ukrainian army is also now here. They're actually, flying drones also to know the kind of damage that has been caused to this place. Shiv, you also have an S-300 system, or what remains of an S-300 system from its command post here to the missile tubes that are there, also destroyed in very precise Russian attacks. So Shiv, this is the airfield. This is the Antonov airfield, the main hangar. There are other aircraft inside there. That's the administrative building. Up there, as you can see, is the ATC. Lalit, that's the ATC, the air traffic controller. There, some other missile tubes and anti-aircraft guns are over on the horizon that side. But all around, just images of destruction, massive destruction caused to this place. And Lalit, Shiv, I'll just give you another view of the AN-225 aircraft. Shiv, this is the aircraft from the starboard, I'll show you both the port and the starboard side, the right and the left side of this aircraft, and we'll walk along. Shiv, a lot of effort was made to defend this place. Look at this aircraft and the anti-aircraft guns. And Shiv, the surface to air missile defense system parked very, very close. An attempt to save this aircraft. Perhaps they tried everything that they could to save this. But if you just look around, Shiv, this is what remains of the AN-225. The cockpit, or what was once the cockpit. This is what this aircraft now looks like. We are trying to get closer, though we've been warned against this. Shiv, we've been warned against this because there could be a lot of unexploded bombs or bomblets here even now.
Yeah, be careful,
But
Gaurav. We don't need
just
to
take
do
a
that.
look.
We,
Once
all
this
safety first,
aircraft
please.
Had, yeah, big buses inside, big bogies were inside, and with the 6 huge engines. I mean, just Shiv, look at this engine. Unbelievable. Look at this powerful engine, now just destroyed. It's surreal, Shiv. It's unbelievable what's happened to this aircraft. A piece of history now. From the cradle to the grave, actually. Built here, kept here, and now destroyed here, Shiv.